Birmingham City are the talk of the Championship after a record-breaking season where they crushed League One, getting 111 points. They're now heading into the new season with the possibility of them getting back-to-back promotions. But it wasn't long ago that they were a club going nowhere with a very confusing ownership situation and even getting relegated the season before last. So how have things turned around so quickly? Well, today I'm going to talk you through it and look at where this journey could end up. I'm Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier, and this is Will Birmingham City win back-to-back promotions? Before we get into whether Birmingham will go up, we need a bit of a history lesson, so here's some context. Our journey begins in the summer of 2023. Birmingham City were a club stuck in limbo. They had spent 12 straight seasons in the Championship, but it wasn't like they were doing much. Up until 2023, they had 7 consecutive seasons where they failed to finish higher than 17th. The main reason for that was some very questionable ownership of the club, in more ways than one. The biggest question being, who actually owned the club? You see, they were taken over in 2009 by a company called Grand Top International Holdings Limited. They then changed their name to Birmingham International Holdings Limited. They then changed their name again to Trillion Trophy Asia Limited, and then Birmingham Sports Holdings Limited. They like to change their name a lot, but the main guy who is in charge of Birmingham also changed a lot. They had a guy called Carson Young who would go on to be jailed in Hong Kong for money laundering. Then there was a guy called Paul Suen who was very rarely seen, and then towards the end of the BSHL era they were being investigated by the EFL into who actually owned the club, because no one knew. So behind the scenes things were murky, but things weren't great at the front of house either. You had year after year of underwhelming seasons, you had managers being questionably sacked, you had a points deduction at one stage, and a stadium which was falling apart. And look, Birmingham City are a big club, but they have been left to rot by their owners who either didn't want to or couldn't afford to keep funding the club anymore. They were a club which needed reviving, and in the summer of 2023 they finally got what they needed.
Hello, Blues fans.
In July, Shelby Companies Limited, based off Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders, a company run by Knighthead Capital Management, took over the club. Birmingham Sports Holding actually still own 51% of the club, but it's Shelby Companies who are responsible for running things. It's fronted by American businessman Tom Wagner, and he promised to deliver transformational improvements for the good of the club and the good of the city. And not long afterwards, he'd be joined by a very familiar face. Mainly familiar in America. I'm not sure too many people in the UK would actually recognise him, but they probably know his name.
Hi guys, how you doing?
NFL legend Tom Brady became a minority owner of Birmingham City in August 2023. Tom Wagner called it a statement of intent, saying we are setting the bar at world class. Tom is both investing as well as committing his time and extensive expertise. Now, it'd be easy to look at this from a cynical perspective because it appears Tom Brady actually owns a very minor share of Birmingham City, so it's easy to just call this a PR stunt. But actually further down the line, it appears to have been a masterstroke in terms of attracting sponsorship. So this was the start of an exciting new era under these owners, including Tom Brady, and after years of mediocrity, Blues fans were actually looking forward to seeing what their club could achieve. And heading into the first season, it was very exciting to Yep, in what turned out to be a disastrous mess of a campaign, Birmingham City were relegated. 11 games into the season, they were in the top 6. But in one of the biggest acts of self-harm the Championship has ever seen, they sacked the manager, John Eustace. They said they wanted a manager who would bring a clear, no-fear playing style. So they got in Wayne Rooney. And what followed was 2 wins in 15, and really was sacked after less than 3 months. But it sent Birmingham spiralling. They pretty much had 5 managers that season and would go on to be relegated on the final day. It was a calamitous start to the new era at Birmingham, and it was totally self-inflicted. It left the new owners with a lot of making up to do. But it actually turned out to be, in a strange way, the best thing that could have happened to Birmingham. You see, the PSR rules are a lot more lax in League One than they are in the Championship, and Birmingham City knew that, so they took full advantage of it. They would absolutely obliterate every spending record. They would splash out £30 million that season, the most in a campaign by a League One club ever. Half of it went on Stansfield, who's the most expensive signing in League One history. In fact, 3 of the most expensive signings ever in League One were made by Birmingham City this very season. In total, they would sign 17 players that summer alone, with many going out the door as well. This was essentially as close as you can get to pressing the reset button and starting again, but they were able to because of the less stringent financial rules. But they also needed a top-class coach to manage them. Birmingham claimed to evaluate nearly 1,000 coaches and spoke to more than 40, and they ended up landing on Chris Davies. He was assistant manager to Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham and had previously been assistant to Brendan Rodgers at Leicester, Celtic and Liverpool, so as far as coaching CVs go, not too bad. So on to an actual new era now at Birmingham City. All the hope and expectation. Can they bounce back from League One at the first time of asking? Yes. Yes, they did. Crushed it. Absolutely pissed it, really. 3 losses, 9 draws, 34 wins, 111 points. It was a new English football record for the most points ever won in a season. Now, many cynical non-Birmingham City fans will probably look at it and say, well, it would have been a failure if they didn't smash League One considering how much money they spent, and that's probably true. But still, being as dominating as they were and winning as consistently as they did, it's a lot easier said than done. And most importantly, it breathed new life into Birmingham City as a football club. For many years, fans were left bewildered by the direction the club was going in, and all of a sudden, they were witnessing their most exciting season in a long time under these very, very ambitious owners. I know it's a massive cliche, but the fans felt like they had their club back, particularly because the owners weren't just making a difference on the pitch. In April of last year, Shelby Companies announced plans for a new sports quarter less than a mile away from St Andrews. It would include a new 62,000-seater stadium. Construction is expected to start next year, and it could be finished by 2029. It's really a sign of the ambition that these owners have, and they're very aware that they'll need a Premier League team to fill that stadium. So looking ahead to the coming season, will that be the case? Well, Tom Bragner says it's definitely the aim, and he's got some big words to back it up. At the start of June, he said, if our revenue progresses as we expect into next season, which is basically a certainty, we will be the highest revenue generating club in the Championship ever not receiving parachute payments, and will be on a par with those receiving parachute payments. It's believed that's down to some very good sponsorship deals that they've made, probably helped by having Mr. Brady along for the ride, and it's led to them making a big splash already in the transfer market. The standout is former Celtic striker Kyogo Furuhashi, who is believed to have cost in the region of £8 million, but they've also got Damari Gray back at the club, as well as other notable permanent additions like Phil Newman and Bright Asay Samuel. They've also got in some very highly rated youngsters on loan like Aaron Cash and James Beadle and Tommy Doyle. So there's some big moves, but let's answer the big question right now. Will Birmingham City win back-to-back promotions? In short, I definitely believe they can. In my eyes, the Birmingham team which got promoted last season was already essentially a top half Championship side which just so happened to be in League One. That was in part down to some of the players that they still had on the books. You had the likes of Ethan Laird, Keshi Anderson, Christian Bielik, who were already good Championship players, but it's mostly down to the players who they signed, who should have never been playing at League One level. Everyone knows about Stansfield because of his price tag. He's a brilliant player and it's still very early in his career, but the standout player for Birmingham last season was Christoph Klauer, an Austrian centre-back who had played nearly every game in the Bundesliga the season before. There's Alex Cochrane, who's probably the unsung hero at left-back, Tomoki Iwata, who's a very intelligent defensive midfielder, and Paik Sung Hyo, who is an excellent ball player in midfield. They're just the standouts in a squad chock full of players who were far too good for League One and are very good at Championship level. There's a serious amount of squad depth here as well, and that's before all the new signings who they've made this past summer who have just strengthened them further. Do not be surprised, by the way, if Birmingham haven't even spent half of the money that they will do during this transfer window. If you look at last season, they didn't sign Stansfield until the 30th of August. If the right player becomes available, they will go after him. And then, of course, they've got a brilliant coach in the dugout in Davies, who so far, we haven't seen any evidence to suggest he's not a brilliant manager as well. It's fair to say he wasn't massively tested in League One last season, but we could be talking about someone here who goes on to manage at the very highest level. So I've reeled off a load of positives here. You're probably thinking, Ryan, what are the negatives with Birmingham City? To be honest, I don't really have that many. The squad could do with topping up in some areas, but otherwise, it's one of the strongest in the Championship. The manager isn't completely free of question marks, but he definitely seems capable of taking this team to a new level. I guess one thing you could say is the owners aren't completely infallible. Yes, they're doing a fantastic job off the pitch and are clearly very ambitious, but they did appoint Wayne Rooney and had essentially 5 managers the last time they were in the Championship. So when it comes to footballing decisions, there may still be a couple of question marks there. But right now, Birmingham City have one of the strongest squads in the Championship, which I can guarantee is only going to get stronger before the transfer window closes. A very promising manager and a set of owners who are determined to get to the Premier League and aren't afraid to do what it takes to get there. Birmingham City, for me, are without a doubt in contention for automatic promotion. And even if they don't go up this season, it feels fairly inevitable that it's going to happen in the near future. So there we have it. This has been, will Birmingham City win back-to-back promotions? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier, and a big thank you for watching.